Hello, and welcome to Beyond Books, where I'm going to talk about my gardens today, and I'm going to show you what I have growing and just an update on what's happening. Also, I'll plant some microgreens a little bit later in the video, and I'll show you that process. So if you don't know what microgreens are, stick around. If you do know what they are, but you don't think you can grow them because you're not sure if you have the right equipment, stick around because you're going to be surprised at just how easy it is. So let's get going. So this plant I've had for some time. It's just flowering like crazy and loving life. So it's going to stay exactly where it is and how it is for right now. And we'll see what we can end up doing with that at some point. Further below that, I have an Aerogarden. This is the 6-pod one. And I've got a large green leaf lettuce there. Now that is growing pretty tall. It's getting up really close to the light. I think I'm going to just cut the whole thing down because it's probably about ready to bolt and the lettuce will not taste very good if I allow it to do that. So that one I'm going to chop up and put into some salad bowls, and that will be lunch. This lettuce here looks a little sad, unfortunately, but I think when I take the larger one out, it'll perk up a little bit. Down here's just some parsley, but then also right here, I have the one that I transplanted from an Aerogarden into soil, I believe just maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago, and it's doing pretty well. So I'm glad about that one. I was wondering if it was going to make it. I think today it's supposed to be a nice warm day, might get up to 60 degrees. And I think if I take it and put it in the sun on the front porch, it will be happy and it'll kind of dry up a little. It's a little wet down inside of it, and that will kind of help it a little bit too. And to get the natural sun will be good for it. So that's my plan for that one a little bit later on. Here's another petunia that I transferred into soil from the Aerogarden. It's doing great. Really, no intervention on that one. That one's looking good. Let's see what I got on the other side of the room. This I am just really happy about because these petunias, I think, are a gorgeous color. They're just absolutely beautiful. And I was wanting them to come back out again. After I transplanted this one into soil from an Aerogarden, it didn't flower for about a month and a half or 2 months. And now it is just so happy. Unfortunately, I don't have a tall enough light. So what I may have to do is cut off some of this top growth. But it's not going to be a big deal because it's just going to fill in the rest. And that is a pretty happy plant, actually. So I'm really glad to see that. Over here we have 2 more heads of lettuce growing in a 6-pod Aerogarden. I think I will combine the other small one from the other side in with these. There'll be 3 together, which is a little tight, but it'll be okay for a while. I think they'll do fine. Down below that, I have one of the hugest cascading petunia plants that I've ever grown, for sure. Unfortunately, I will have to cut this back just a little bit. You can probably tell it's just about ready to get out of the light that it has over it. So it's not going to do well if I allow it to do that. So I'm going to have to sacrifice a little bit of it. Yeah, that's okay though. It's going to grow back and be just fine. My plan for this eventually is to transplant it into soil and put it outside. So if I can accomplish that, that will really be something. So let me start getting set up on the kitchen counter and I'll get right back to you and we'll see what we can do about doing some planting today. So here are the 2 bowls of lettuce that I got from the lettuce that was in this Aerogarden here that I have, cut out now. And this is what is left. This is just kind of the stalk. And you can see how thick this was getting. So that was ready to just shoot right up. And it puts out like these little kind of pods that have, I think, even lettuce seeds in them. Although I don't usually, harvest those seeds. I buy my seeds usually. They're not very expensive. So once it does that, though, the lettuce does not taste good. So I think I captured this just in time. This was planted on December 31st. So, almost 2 months. That's about what you're going to get out of a lettuce like this. And I just want to show one more thing on this, too. It's kind of interesting. On the roots, you can see these little roots that are up at the top. These actually get oxygen to the plant. And then these longer roots that are down actually in the deck of the Aerogarden, those are, of course, much longer, and they're getting the water and the nutrients. So it's kind of interesting. It's just a totally different looking, type of root. So this I'm just going to pull out and toss. There's really no use for it at this point. And this is nice and healthy. I'm just going to cut it away and put it in my other garden. So let me get to that, and I will get right back to you. So here's the purple plant that I cut back a little bit. Probably could have even cut it back a little bit more, but just it's a little bit misshapen. So we'll see how it grows, and hopefully we'll get some more natural light in here pretty soon. So it may start growing better and looking a little more organized. Over here we have the big boy. I cut a lot off of this. And the inside is really, there were a lot of dead leaves. There still are some that I could probably still pluck out of there. And I can see on the inside that it's not as green because the light just wasn't penetrating all the way through. Just like what happens to a plant that you have outside, the inner part sometimes either gets too wet, stays wet, dead leaves choke it off, that kind of thing. So I cleaned out underneath. We'll see what happens. This is a big guy, and I have had it since, it started flowering at like the beginning of October of this year, but I planted it probably in September. So yeah, it's been around for a while, and it may just be getting to the end of its life, but I would love to transplant this outside if possible. So we'll just have to see how it goes. And then up here, I have combined now 3 lettuces. That's a bit much for this 6-pod garden right at this point, but I think we'll be okay. If I keep trimming the lettuce as it grows, I think we'll be fine. So we'll see. If I have to set up another garden and, put one of the heads of lettuce in there, I can do that. So that's why you need a few gardens. You just need that latitude to be able to move things around. So, as promised, let me show you my microgreen technique. Okay, so I have 3 items here that I saved from food containers. This is from, I think some cucumbers or something were in there. And these both are tofu containers. So I've punched some holes in one of the tofu containers, and I'm going to put down some soil. I'm going to put down my seeds, put some soil over, and make sure everything gets nice and watered. Well, what am I going to grow? I'm going to grow microgreens. And what microgreens are is they are the first stem and sprout from a seed where there are 2 leaves coming out of the top. Those two leaves are not what they call true leaves. They aren't the leaves exactly of the plant. But if you cut these little stems at that stage of growth, just with those two little leaves, you can use those stems in cooking. You can sprinkle them on salads, you can put them in soups, you can put them on top of some cheese and crackers, you can put them on top of cream cheese on a bagel, you can put them on a sandwich, all kinds of things like that. These are often served. You may have seen them in restaurants. You'll see they usually just put two on your plate, like two on top of a vegetable, or just a few on a tray with, hummus and bread and, those kinds of things, some type of a board with spread or cheese, because they can be very expensive if you purchase these in a store. And I'll show you how we're going to grow them. We aren't just going to put down one or two seeds the way you would if you're going to grow actual plants. Remember, we're only going to let these grow to a very, very, very small stage, probably an inch and a half or so. And then we're just going to cut them, and that's what we're going to use. The rest, the soil at that point or whatever is just going to be thrown away or probably transplanted into another plant. So because of that, they really usually don't give you a whole lot of these in a restaurant. You can buy them in a small container, maybe the size of this tofu container, maybe even a little bit smaller. And I'll tell you, they'll cost at least $6 or more, probably more now, in a store. So they can be very expensive. They're also very nutritious because being the first shoot off of the seed, they have all the nutrition in them that is held within the seed that will help the plants grow. So let me get this process started. I think for today, I'm going to use the broccoli microgreens. These are considered very good antioxidant food, and they're delicious. Gives a nice little broccoli flavor on top of your salad. So let me get started on that, and I'll show you where we go. All right, so here is some soil in my tofu container, the one with the holes, and it's inside of a tray so that it has a place to drain. And now I'm going to sprinkle these seeds, and I'm going to sprinkle them so that they stay pretty close together, but not on top of each other. So I want to be kind of careful, but you do want to get quite a few seeds on there. All right. Put a little more there, a little more there. Looking pretty good. Might put a little bit more over here. You can imagine when all these sprout, it's just going to be thick like your lawn, like grass or something like that. And that way we can just reach in with scissors and cut them right out. Just harvest them, and I'll probably, since this is kind of a small tray, I'll probably just harvest them all together because it really won't be a whole lot. Okay, so now I'm going to get some water sprayed onto these. There we go. Get my water bottle working here. And I'm going to wet them pretty well. Now, I had already wet down all of the soil, so you start out in, pretty moist environment for the seeds. Okay, that's probably pretty good. Now I'm going to cover with some more soil, and I'll probably take my other side here and I'll flatten it all down. Then I'll clean this off, and this will be a cover over the top. And I'll check it every few days, see if it needs any water. And once I start getting some sprouts, and they're maybe say a ½ inch, and the leaf will be all tight, it won't be opened up yet, well, that's when I'll take that cover off for good, and I'll keep this then under a light. And the microgreens will grow straight up towards the light, and it will only be a few days from that point until they'll be ready to eat. They grow very, very quickly. So that's about it for microgreens. You can see that this is probably the least expensive way that you can, grow these. It's only regular potting soil. These are things that I've saved from food containers, and I got the seeds from Amazon. And they came, all of these different kinds, in one bag. I think they're around maybe $12 or so. I don't know, not sure. I'll put a link to them below anyway. And in a few days or a week, it's probably going to be a week for the whole process to happen, I'll show you where we're at with our broccoli microgreens. So this is the flowers that I cut from my other plants when I thinned them out, and have this on the table. And it's really cheerful in the wintertime to be able to have some flowers around and some different colors. The colors on these are just amazing. And yeah, very nice display. So again, thank you so much for watching. I will keep you updated on those microgreens, and as always, remember that you're writing your own story. So surround it with beauty and give yourself a gift today. Take care, and thanks again.